and welcome to MeowMix, the Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven.
My name is Jerry.
And we're back, Jerry.
I know.
Like it's been like over 2 weeks since we recorded a podcast, because it has been.
I was going to say for us, yes, because we did a dual show and kind of popped them out week after week. So, yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah,
OTAs happened. Nothing really exciting happened except for, Sam Darnold's a starting quarterback if the season started now, of course.
Well, yeah, no shit. Like, that's obvious. We understand that, Matt Rule. You don't have to keep telling us. If the season started today, Sam Darnold, well, who else would it be? Like, obviously.
And everyone looks good in shorts and a t-shirt. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're a professional athlete. Mm-hmm. Now, me out there, I would not look so good. Have been working out a little bit, but, still got a gut.
Terrace Marshall supposedly has been a revelation in camp or a mini camp. So that's good to hear. But obviously, I kind of would expect guys like that to have good mini camps. They should.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody's
athletic
you.
Freak.
You're just out there making great plays.
You're running the routes. You're catching a pass that's not defendable, just exactly. Although supposedly Sam Darnold had some good and bad days. Same with Matt Corral, up and down, which Matt Corral, you expect it, 4 or 5 year veteran, not so much, but
Well, it's Sam Darnold.
Exactly.
Which is why we're here today, Jerry.
Exactly.
We're going to be talking about the smoke. There's so much smoke regarding a Panthers trade for Baker Mayfield. I mean, we've been hearing it for weeks. The Panthers are this close. They're just working with the Browns on that final compensation. I saw something today saying the Panthers could still be in on Jimmy Garoppolo. The Seahawks could be in on Baker and Jimmy. Like, it seems like the Panthers and the Seahawks are the two teams that San Francisco and Cleveland are betting on to trade for one of these guys.
Well, they both have the worst quarterback situation in the league.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's not make roses out of this. I mean, the Panthers have Sam Darnold. I mean, at least Matt Corral, you have some hope for, but he's probably not going to be ready day one.
Right.
And then you have, Seattle. They have Drew Lock and Geno Smith competing.
Yeah, which apparently Geno Smith has the early leg up in the competition. So that should tell you a lot about their situation. Now, the question is, Jerry, would you rather have Locke and Geno or Darnold and, Matt Corral? I think
at least with Corral, I can have some hope.
Corral out of it. Yeah, maybe say
PJ Walker.
Yeah, maybe say PJ and because I think Corral, obviously, you'd rather have him just for the upside. But
can I take Pete Carroll over Matt Rule though? Then I'll go there. I'll go that route.
Yeah, Pete Carroll and PJ Walker as your starting quarterback. Sign me up if that's
deal.
What it takes. Yeah, if that's what it takes, sign me up. But we just kind of want to talk a little bit about, should the Panthers make a trade for one of these two quarterbacks? Like, we're gonna leave all the, a 7th round pick for, whoever, ex-veteran quarterback that's older and obviously not a franchise guy, not a starter. We specifically want to talk about Baker and Jimmy G because they're the main ones. Yeah. They're the guys that we've been hearing about. In all likelihood, one or both of them will be traded before the season starts, probably by training camp. So those are the guys we're going to focus on.
Yeah, and it seems like that this front office just is desperate to trade for a quarterback. Mm-hmm. Obviously, this quarterback draft class was not the greatest. Right. One ticket to the first round, and then the rest went in third or later. So, as much as I really like Matt Corral, I had him higher on my board than you did. I really liked his accuracy. He's not ready. That's point blank. Yeah. And if you throw him out there to the Wolves, as much as I think he has potential to become a starter franchise quarterback, I think you throw him out there too early, you could not also do the complete opposite. So with that said, with Jimmy G and Baker Mayfield, I don't want to give up more than a 5th round pick for either one of them, since they're 1-year rentals and have 1-year contracts left.
Yeah, and just to jump back real quick, yeah, you had Corral higher on your board than I did. That being said, I had him much higher on my board than where he actually went.
Oh, absolutely.
So the fact that the Panthers got him in the 3rd round, I think, is just a no-brainer, outstanding, great pick. We have, I don't want to say like super high hopes for Matt Corral, but nobody's gonna be pulling harder for him to succeed.
Oh yeah,
right. I mean, it's
if he succeeds, everything's put to bed for this franchise. You have a solid quarterback to build on. The rest of the roster is pretty good that they could maybe make something happen. The problem is the quarterback is the most important position, and it's the biggest question on this franchise for years.
Right, which is why these conversations are happening for Baker and Jimmy G, because frankly, both of them are pretty big upgrades over Sam Darnold. Right?
Yes.
Baker Mayfield, former number 1 pick, has had, he's been average, I think. He's been an average quarterback. He had one season where he was above average, but otherwise, I think he's been pretty average, which is a massive upgrade over Sam Darnold, right? I mean, Baker had one year where he was 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. They went 11-5. That was just a couple years ago. I mean, he's still very young. He's 27, I guess.
7.
So he's still, got many, many more years left. The Browns are, it sounds like, willing to pay up to half of his salary, which would be, $9-10 million, which would leave the Panthers with $9-10 million to pay for him. Add that to the 18 that Sam's making, and you basically have starting quarterback money. Like, it's not ridiculous.
Yeah, the Panthers are going to have to chew one of these contracts up with Jimmy G and Baker, at least part of it. I understand that you're going to be able to get them to take some of it, but you're going to be ending up spending close to $30-something million on the quarterback room, whether it's Jimmy G and Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. No one wants Sam Darnold. I mean, he's that old couch that you've been had and stained, and you put it out on the front, on trash day or a couple days early, hoping someone picks it up. It's still there on trash day. You're going to have to call someone to get that.
Yeah. And, this is kind of what sucks, because once again, for the 4th year in a row now, I guess, we're looking at potentially having a new starting quarterback to start the season. I don't know about you. I will say I do know about you. If you trade for Baker Mayfield, we're expecting it to be a 1-year deal, right? We're not expecting to bring him in and extend him, right? Same with Jimmy G. So is it worth it? Is it worth to give up a draft pick, even if it's just a 5th rounder? And by the way, I think if the Browns are going to pay, $9-10 million, they're probably going to want more than a 5th rounder for Baker. So let's even say like a 4th, right? I think a 4th is probably where it ends up, if they're taking on that much salary. Are you willing to give up a 4th round pick?
No.
For Baker Mayfield?
No, I'm not. But the problem is Matt Rule is trying to save his job. And that's where we have to think about it. Because, again, that means this franchise has given up so much draft capital for quarterbacks that will be gone next year. Maybe besides Matt Corral.
In a vacuum, Baker Mayfield for a 4th round pick sounds like a steal, right? Because he's a starting NFL quarterback. And he is at worst, a 20 to 22, right? If you're ranking the quarterbacks, he's in that upper 20 range, with the potential to be better. you know, a lot of teams would give up a lot for that kind of guy. I mean, I know we're all looking for the top
Would they
five, the
though?
elite guy.
Because it doesn't seem like teams are.
Well, most teams have quarterbacks. And a lot of the teams that don't have quarterbacks that you would consider top 20 guys, they're all young. They're all really young, and they're kind of hoping that they pan out. Like your Chicago's, your Jacksonville, guys like that. Even New Orleans, they think they can get Jameis to be a top 15 guy, right?
I think Jameis can be a top 15
Right,
guy.
I do. I agree too.
I
I
think
would
he's
much rather
better
have
than
Jameis
Baker
than any of
Mayfield
these
and
guys.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
I think he has all the tools. I think if he could, I don't want to say get his head on straight, but if he could get into a better system, I think Jameis Winston could be he was the number one overall pick, and I still see the ability to be the reason why he took. Now, Baker Mayfield, I think he just has limits. I don't see him as being able to, really extend himself like Jameis Winston can. I still think Winston has a higher ceiling than Baker Mayfield. That being said, I do think he is on that, last quarter of the top quarterbacks in the league. He's not the greatest. He's much improvement over Sam Darnold.
Mm-hmm.
But again, putting Baker Mayfield on this team, does that get you to the playoffs? Does it get you to the Super Bowl? I don't think it gets you either one of those. Not with this schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If Baker is, he was hurt a lot last year, right? I mean, most of the year he was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Did not have a very good year, 17 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Still a much better year than Sam Darnold had, even being hurt. They were 6-8 when he was starting quarterback. But he's just a year removed from that 11-5 season where he threw for 26 touchdowns and only 8 interceptions. I mean, if you can have that type of year from him again, fully healthy with the type of weapons the Panthers have, I don't think it's impossible that they sneak into a wild card.
You're right, but he was bad, but he wasn't as bad as people think. I mean, he still had a 73% on target accuracy compared to 74 the year before. So he still played about the same. It's just the team around him, I think, played a little worse, and he couldn't lift them up.
Well, he was also hurt. I mean, he was legitimately hurt. His shoulder was hurt for most of the season. I mean, they've said that. So, Baker is a lot cheaper than Jimmy G. I don't think that the 49ers are going to be willing to eat like $15 million of his contract, which would bring it right around 10, which is what the Panthers would be looking at right now if they traded for Baker. Go ahead.
And the 49ers can also just cut bait of him and only pay 1.4 on the cap.
Right.
I mean, that's a huge thing. With Jimmy G, you're going to have to eat that whole $26 million.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Jimmy G, when you're looking at Jimmy G's career, right? I mean, he's been with New England. He's been with San Francisco. 2 pretty good run franchises, right?
Great head coaches.
Great head coaches. Yeah. In San Francisco, a very offensive-minded head coach, considered one of, if not the better offensive head coaches, offensive minds in the game. And Jimmy G is 33-14 as a starter. He's completed over his career 68% of his passes. He's got 71 touchdowns to 38 interceptions. And that's really only with 2 seasons of full starting seasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
He started 16 games in 2019 and 15 games last year. Both of those years, they went to the playoffs. They were playoff teams. Took the 49ers to the Super Bowl. Jimmy G is a guy that took a team to a Super Bowl not that long ago. He is 30 years old. He'll be 31 or right around 31 when the season starts. He's going to cost you more than Baker. But if you trade for him, like you said, if they cut him, then I could see the Panthers trying to sign him. But would he sign for like a year or two? Again, this is a guy that took a team to a Super Bowl a couple of years ago. I mean,
would they cut him?
Interesting.
Because they could also keep him as an expensive backup or have him compete with Trey Lance again.
Well, they have made it clear that they want to trade him. And if the cap saving is that much by cutting him, I would be pretty surprised if he stayed. Now they could keep him. Like you said, Trey Lance is kind of an unknown, although they're very high on him. Obviously,
I was gonna say I would assume they know. Yeah. I mean, they traded
a lot
for
to get him. Yeah, but
and they also have the second lowest in cap space right now too. Yeah. So
it would make sense to me for them to part ways with Jimmy G here at some point, whether it's a trade or just letting him go.
Yeah.
But let's just say for argument's sake here, 4th round pick, okay, for Baker, and Panthers only pay $10 million. 4th round pick or maybe we'll even say a 5th round pick for Jimmy G. Panthers have to pay 20. So you're looking at 38, 39, almost 40 million between all the quarterbacks on the team. And you're starting Jimmy G. Which scenario of those are you picking?
Me personally, neither. But again, I don't have my job on the line. I think Jimmy G's the better fit. I think he would be the better quarterback for this team. I think he could run a better play action scenario type of team. And I think under Ben McAdoo, that's what they're really going to lean on, is a lot of heavy play action. I think Baker Mayfield's good, but I think Jimmy G would fit this team better. Get the ball out of his hand fast, be able to run that play action. And again, like you said, he's better overall. Now, this is keeping in mind the simple fact that Matt Rule's trying to save his job. So he's going to do anything he can to make the playoffs. And I think Jimmy G gives the Panthers the best chance to do that.
Yeah, I would agree. As fans, so just looking at it as the fandom here, which of those two scenarios do you think the fans would be more excited about?
I think the fans are more leaning towards Baker Mayfield because Jimmy G did just come off of shoulder surgery, so we're not sure how he's going. But also, it's on ESPN. It's on everything about Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's the big name right now. Jimmy G is not. So I think they are watching that. They're leaning towards that. He was the number 1 overall pick a few years ago, I think Baker Mayfield's a shinier toy looking from the outsider perspective.
Yeah, I think the hate on both of these guys just has gone too far. I think both of them in the right situation could be very productive quarterbacks. I mean, we've seen Jimmy G do it. We know he can be productive. They almost won a Super Bowl. Like, I've heard a lot of people say, Jimmy G can never win a Super Bowl. Well, he almost did.
Yeah.
Like he was very close to winning that Super Bowl. Baker, we haven't seen it from him yet, but he's shown flashes. I think both of these guys are worth more than what the compensation is going to end up being for either one of them. I think it's a weird situation right now with, most of the league being set at quarterback, or at least having really young guys that they're excited about, that they want to see. And it's really just these two teams, the Panthers and the Seattle, that I think that's why it's taken so long, because there's just no competition. There's no bidding. There's not a lot of teams that are willing to give up a lot for these guys. So I think it's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen until like right before training camp. But I think the Panthers are gonna end up with one of these guys. I think it's gonna be Baker.
I mean, I'm surprised. Like you say that, but I mean, Jared Goff's out there, Carson Wentz. I mean, those guys are still
Yeah,
out there
Jared.
too.
I mean, I
Marcus
understand
Mariota
that.
starting for Atlanta. Mitch Trubisky.
People
Well,
still,
I believe Pittsburgh out. Daniel Jones for the Giants.
yeah. I mean,
I mean,
Atlanta drafted um, Willis.
Ritter.
Oh, Ritter. That's right, Ritter. Um, I don't know what Wentz is in Washington now, right?
Yes, the
Yeah,
Commanders.
I don't know what they're doing. Um, Detroit, I think, is playing for the number one pick next year. Um, so I don't think that they're going to be too keen on upgrading at quarterback right now. And Goff's not terrible. I would put Goff. Would you say Goff is a? Would you be Marcus Baker or Jimmy G, or would you say he's the third of those three options?
I'd say third of those three
Yeah, I
options.
don't think it's. I wouldn't say like Goff is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, though.
I don't either. I think he's in that same tier of that third core,
Yeah,
that 23 third quarterback in the league where you
yeah,
can
but
win with
he's
a good team around him,
yeah,
but you're not going to win a lot with him
yeah.
because of him.
Well, we saw what happened with the Rams when they moved on from him and got a guy who most considered a top 10 quarterback in Stafford.
Yeah.
They won the Super Bowl. So, um, yeah, maybe not Golf, but um, yeah, I mean, I guess the real question is, should the Panthers make a trade at all? I mean, it sounds like you're saying no.
As
Um,
a fan, I say no because I know the quarterbacks coming out next year are going to be really good. And I'm tired of this every year looking at a quarterback situation and begging for the Panthers to hit. And I think, honestly, rolling with Sam Darnold would give us a good chance at getting a top tier quarterback next year. Or Matt Corral replaces him and shows he's the man, and then we could go from there. But
yeah,
otherwise, I think if we get a 1 year rental, we win 5 to 7 games, we pick around 9 or 10, we're not going to get the top tier quarterbacks. We're going to be doing this all over again. Maybe I'm just
well,
very pessimistic right now with this
I think you
franchising.
are. I think you are because I think if we got Jimmy or Baker, I don't think we're a 5-win team. I think we're knocking on the door of the playoffs. I don't know if we get in, but I think we're more like a 8 to 10 win team, right? So I mean, we're right there. A few things go right for us, we're in the playoffs. So what if I told you you could trade for Baker Mayfield? They're going to sign him to an extension, a reasonable extension
No.
for 4 years,
Oh,
4 years, 80 million or something, right? 20 million a year, which for a starting quarterback is not a lot of money.
this
Well,
this pod.
you're out of that. We're looking for a quarterback. Like they're going to commit to Baker, who
Yeah,
is
they're
not a
committing
not
to
a terrible quarterback.
they're committing to a bottom tier quarterback.
Well, I mean, bottom tier, like he's not bottom 2 or 3 in the
Yes,
league. Like he's
Baker Mayfield is like you said, a 20 to 32 quarterback. What do you want?
no, I'm not saying he's a 20 to 32. I think he's like a 20 to 22 quarterback. I think he's in the high 20s. Baker Mayfield is
No.
not one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. He is not. I mean,
I
that's just a
agree that
fact.
he's
He's not
probably
one of the
between
worst.
20 to like 25, but I don't see him much higher. And I personally want the Panthers to win a Super Bowl. I don't see Baker Mayfield winning a Super Bowl. I just don't.
But you're going to bet on Sam Darnold failing so badly that the Panthers are able to draft a quarterback
And
in
get
the
rid of
first
this
round.
horrible coaching staff or Matt Rule. That's also playing
You're
a part of this.
I don't know if that's going to happen, even if they do get the number one pick.
I
It sounds
just
like Tepper is like committed.
it's just that's also part of my problem with this is it's simply so bad. Like
It's so hard to
situation.
talk to you about this because and not just you, but many Panthers fans. so desperately want Matt Rule fired that
I don't
no,
desperate.
that hold on, that you almost, if you squint hard enough, you would almost rather see the Panthers go winless if it means Matt Rule is gone.
And I get a like Bryce Young. Yes, my biggest problem is I don't see Matt Rule improving. I didn't see improvement last year from him. I did not see any improvement from him, or
Yeah,
the coaching staff seemed to regress. Like,
yeah.
and the whole team regressed. And he looks out of touch. I think he's a good college coach. I think the NFL's too big for him. And
Well,
and I could be wrong, and I'd be happy to be wrong if he takes
yeah.
us to the playoffs and I see better clock management, better second half adjustments. I just don't.
I will say that you're 100% certainly correct in feeling that way, right? I mean, he's shown us nothing else so
No.
far in his career. Um, but I do think that what they've done in this offseason in terms of the coaching staff, bringing in former head coaches, bringing in really top tier guys, from the coordinators on down, in my opinion, at those positions. I'm interested to see what the evolution of Matt Rule is this year, because he's going to have a lot of guys in his ear that have been there before, that have, on the NFL level, on the college level, all over the place. And he may soak up some of that. He may be able to turn it around. But if you've got Sam Darnold as your quarterback, I don't think it matters. I don't think we're going to be able to see that. So I would almost rather them go ahead and make a move to bring in a competent starting quarterback just to see. Maybe Matt Rule with a competent starting quarterback, with a good coaching staff around him, with a solid offensive line, finally, for the first time in his career as a head coach. Maybe there's something there. And maybe it all comes together. Is it impossible?
It's not impossible. I
Would
mean, this
you
team was
would
3 and
you
oh.
as a Panthers fan, would you want to at least give that a shot before we completely dump it and start all over again, really from square one, with a new quarterback, a new head coach,
I don't. I
probably
really
a
don't
lot of
know.
players gone?
I really don't
That's a
know.
lot to ask a fan base to stick with it through yet another rebuild.
You're absolutely right. But at the same time, this rebuild does not look to be going correctly. It looks like they prematurely scrapped the rebuild during the first season of the rebuild, signing Teddy Bridgewater, signing these other and it was just it was done badly. This rebuild has
before they finished the foundation, they were bringing in really nice furniture.
yes. Yes, absolutely. That's a great analogy there. I mean, yeah, bring in for really cheap, but I'm also don't want another, 5 picks in the draft because, again, the foundation hasn't been placed. We have some good talent, but the depth on this roster is awful. Just point blank. And you build depth by drafting. And if you're always shelling out more and more draft picks for mediocre to bad quarterbacks, and then moving on from them shortly after they get here, what's the point? I mean,
yeah. I mean, would you have rather them taken Kenny Pickett with their 6th pick?
no, because I think Matt Corral has bigger upside than Kenny Pickett. I like Kenny Pickett, but I'm not all sold on him, to be honest with you.
Yeah. But it sounds
And I
like,
think, the compensation for Matt Corral in the 3rd was well worth it.
I would agree. I think getting Matt Corral for what they got him for versus what the Steelers got Kenny Pickett for, I think the Panthers win that every time. Unless Kenny Pickett, becomes a superstar, in which case, whatever, it was a crapshoot. But it sounds like if I'm thinking about you, you would prefer the Panthers to stand pat, just roll with what we've got, see if Matt Corral in the second half of the season does anything.
And when I say stand pat, now if you're sitting there in OT or training camp and you're looking at Sam Darnold, Matt Corral, and PJ Walker and going, oh God, then yeah, you got to make that move. Which is what the fans
are doing, by the way.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing, looking at that. But I'm honestly hoping Matt Corral shows up in training camp and basically presses the issue like a Russell Wilson did his rookie season as a third-round pick, where, they'd signed, here's some fun fact, Matt Flynn to a big contract that offseason as a pretty big contract to be their starter.
I guess it was decent.
Yeah, I mean, now it's not, but
yeah.
So they are expecting him to be the starter off the Green Bay's backup, and
off of one game, basically, right?
It was a few games, I believe, but yeah. And then he gets there, and Russell Wilson just lit it up. I remember watching a preseason game with mic'd up, and one of the defensive players, as soon as Russell went out there on the preseason, the defensive starters ran to the sideline and go, oh, the kid's out there. We love to watch him play. And this was him talk to another guy. He's like, this kid's got something. I'm hoping that happens with Matt Corral.
Well, it could. And, honestly, I'd forgotten about Matt Flynn. So that one game, and it was one game, he was 31 of 44, 480 yards, 6 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. That got him that big deal the following season with Seattle, and he played 3 games, never started a single game for them. So that's a good one though. I didn't think about that, but that very well could happen. He could come into training camp and really kind of take off. I think maybe I'm on your side now, because I came into this podcast and I was thinking, I think they should trade for Baker. I think they should trade for Jimmy, and just give Matt Rule every chance to succeed. And if he doesn't, at least we know for sure, right? We can't blame him on the quarterback. We can't blame him on COVID. We can't blame him on a crappy offensive line. It's Matt Rule. A lot of fans have already decided that, but no, I still think that way. I still think that they should do that. I still think they should bring one of these guys in.
Okay. And I'm not opposed to bringing them in. It's just the simple. I don't want to give up a lot.
Yeah.
And
no,
I really
agree.
And I really want to get Matt Corral a real chance. I don't want this, oh yeah, a real chance, and they never really do. He takes one snap with the starters all training camp, and he was competing.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, well, let us know in the comments what you think. If you think the Panthers should make these deals, if you're looking forward to just seeing them roll Sam Darnold's old corpse out there again, let us know.
We want to thank you for listening. If you like the show, please let your friends know. Please follow us on Twitter at MeowMix Podcast. If you have any questions or comment, you can email us at mailbag@meowmixpodcast.com. And if you leave us a 5-star review with a comment on Apple Podcasts, we'll read it on the show.
Yeah, we'll be back either next week or the week after. Let us know if there's any topics you'd like us to cover. Shoot us an email like Jerry said, or just leave YouTube comments, fine as well. But until then, everybody stay safe out there and keep pounding.